Islam, a religion of peace, has been unjustly associated with violence and terrorism. This harmful stereotype is deeply rooted in historical misconceptions and deliberately perpetuated by various actors throughout history. The truth is that Islam, in its core teachings and principles, vehemently condemns violence and advocates for peace, compassion, and justice. The actions of a small, extremist minority do not represent the beliefs and practices of the world's 1.8 billion Muslims. This essay delves into the historical context surrounding the false accusations levied against Islam. It explores the historical events and power dynamics that contributed to the creation and perpetuation of these harmful stereotypes. Furthermore, it will shed light on the true teachings of Islam, highlighting its emphasis on peace, tolerance, and understanding. It is crucial to remember that understanding a religion requires going beyond the headlines and delving into its sacred texts, history, and the lived experiences of its adherents. Islam, like any other major religion, encompasses a vast and diverse spectrum of beliefs and interpretations. Attributing the actions of a few to an entire faith is not only inaccurate but also fuels prejudice and discrimination. By examining the facts and engaging in informed dialogue, we can challenge these harmful stereotypes and foster a more nuanced and accurate understanding of Islam. Only through understanding and empathy can we hope to build bridges of peace and coexistence. The roots of Islamophobia can be traced back centuries, to a time when Europe and the Islamic world clashed in a series of religious wars known as the Crusades. These conflicts, spanning from the 11th to the 13th centuries, were marked by violence and bloodshed on both sides. However, European chroniclers of the time often portrayed Muslims as inherently violent and fanatical, painting a distorted image that served to justify their own territorial ambitions. This demonization of Islam continued into the colonial era, as European powers sought to legitimize their conquest and subjugation of Muslim-majority lands. The stereotype of the violent Muslim proved a convenient tool for colonial administrators, who used it to justify their oppressive policies and to quash any resistance they encountered. From the British Raj in India to the French occupation of Algeria, colonial powers systematically exploited these prejudices to maintain their grip on power. The historical legacy of the Crusades and colonialism continues to cast a long shadow on the relationship between the West and the Islamic world. The stereotypes born out of these eras have proven remarkably resilient, often resurfacing in new and dangerous forms. Understanding this historical context is essential for comprehending the deeply ingrained prejudices that continue to fuel Islamophobia today. The horrific events of September 11, 2001, marked a turning point in the way Islam was perceived in the West. The attacks, carried out by a small group of extremists, were used by some politicians and media outlets to paint an entire religion with the brush of terrorism. The image of the Muslim terrorist became a pervasive trope in news coverage and political discourse, fueling a climate of fear and suspicion towards Muslims. The media's role in perpetuating these stereotypes cannot be overstated. In the aftermath of 9/11, news outlets often relied on sensationalized headlines and biased reporting that reinforced the notion of a monolithic and inherently violent Islam. This simplistic narrative ignored the diversity of beliefs and practices within the Muslim world, conflating the actions of a few with the beliefs of over a billion. This climate of fear and suspicion has had a devastating impact on Muslim communities around the world. Muslims have faced increased discrimination, hate crimes, and profiling. The post-9/11 era has seen a surge in Islamophobic rhetoric from politicians and public figures, further marginalizing Muslim communities and exacerbating existing tensions. It is imperative to recognize the media's role in shaping public perceptions of Islam, and to demand more responsible and nuanced coverage of these complex issues. Section 4. The Quran's Cry for Peace, Examining the True Message. At the heart of Islam lies the Quran, a sacred text revealed to the Prophet Muhammad and revered by Muslims as the literal word of God. Contrary to the distorted image often presented, the Quran is replete with verses that emphasize peace, compassion, and justice. The Quran explicitly condemns violence and bloodshed, stating unequivocally that the taking of an innocent life is akin to killing all of humanity. Quran 5:32. The Quran repeatedly stresses the importance of tolerance and understanding between people of different faiths. It teaches that there is no compulsion in religion, Quran 2:256, and calls on Muslims to engage in dialogue and respectful debate with those who hold differing beliefs. The Quran's message is one of universal love, urging Muslims to show kindness to all, regardless of their faith or background. Furthermore, the Quran emphasizes the importance of justice and fairness in all aspects of life. It condemns oppression and exploitation, calling on Muslims to stand up for the rights of the marginalized and the vulnerable. The Quran's message of social justice is a cornerstone of Islamic teachings, reminding Muslims of their duty to create a more equitable and compassionate world. Section 5. The Prophet's Path, a paragon of mercy and forgiveness. The life of the Prophet Muhammad, the final messenger of Islam, serves as a guiding light for Muslims around the world. His actions and teachings embody the true spirit of Islam, reflecting its emphasis on peace, compassion, and forgiveness. Far from being a warmonger, the Prophet Muhammad was known for his kindness, gentleness, and unwavering commitment to justice. One of the most powerful examples of the Prophet's mercy can be seen in his treatment of the people of Mecca. After years of persecution and exile, the Prophet and his followers returned to Mecca victorious. Despite the hardships they had endured, the Prophet did not seek revenge. Instead, he offered a general amnesty, forgiving even his most ardent enemies. Throughout his life, the Prophet consistently advocated for peaceful coexistence and understanding between people of different faiths. He taught that true piety lay not in outward displays of religious fervor but in acts of kindness, compassion, and empathy towards all. His life stands as a testament to the true spirit of Islam, a religion that calls on its followers to be beacons of peace and understanding in a world often marred by conflict and division. Section 6. Jihad, a misunderstood concept twisted by extremists. Jihad, an Arabic word often mistranslated as holy war, is a concept that has been tragically distorted by extremists to justify their acts of violence. In its true Islamic context, jihad encompasses a much broader and nuanced meaning, referring to the struggle against evil and the striving for spiritual and moral excellence. The Quran speaks of different forms of jihad, including the internal struggle against one's own base desires, jihad al-nafs, and the struggle to defend oneself and one's community from aggression, jihad al-daf. However, the Quran explicitly forbids aggression and the use of violence for personal gain or conquest. War, according to Islamic teachings, is permissible only as a last resort in self-defense when all other avenues for peace have been exhausted. Extremist groups have hijacked the concept of jihad, twisting its meaning to serve their own violent agendas. They have ignored the Quran's strict guidelines on warfare, justifying their atrocities as a divinely ordained struggle against the enemies of Islam. This perversion of Islamic teachings has been condemned by mainstream Muslim scholars and leaders worldwide who recognize it for what it is, a blatant manipulation of religion for political ends. Section 7. Beyond the Stereotypes, Embracing Understanding and Coexistence. The false association of Islam with violence and terrorism is a dangerous and damaging stereotype that must be challenged at every turn. Islam, in its true essence, is a religion of peace, compassion, and justice. The actions of a small extremist minority do not represent the beliefs and practices of the world's 1.8 billion Muslims, the vast majority of whom live peacefully and condemn all forms of violence and extremism. To combat Islamophobia, we must move beyond simplistic narratives and engage with the true teachings of Islam and the lived experiences of Muslims. We must challenge media bias, promote religious literacy, and address the root causes of conflict and extremism. Education, dialogue, and empathy are essential tools in dismantling the walls of prejudice and fostering a more just and peaceful world. The path to understanding and coexistence requires a concerted effort from all segments of society. Governments, religious leaders, educators, and individuals all have a role to play in promoting tolerance, respect, and understanding. By embracing our shared humanity and working together to address the challenges we face, we can create a world where people of all faiths and backgrounds can coexist in peace and harmony.